The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library.
I just need one more chance to prove my love to you. And if you come back to me, I'll guarantee that I'll never let you go. Ooh, can we go back to the ways? Yeah. Ooh. Can somebody tell me how to get things back the way they used to be? Sing it. Oh God, give me the reason I'm down on bended knee. Ladies and gentlemen, your host and producer of A Dose of Landis, Mr. Jeff Landis.
That is Sean Stockman of Boys to Men, man.
Right. Excellent.
It's very, very crazy. Again, like I said with my show, you never know what's going to happen. Today we were planning on doing one. What the hell? I can't even. 2 shows. We ended up doing 3. So today, in reality, we did 3.5 shows. But anyways, again, you never know who's going to be on my show. Again, like I said, for some reason, we are drawing to people that work with big name TVs, been on big name channels. My guest this evening, I just met him yesterday through Wesley Pollard, which is a good friend of mine, who linked us up, and he told me a little bit about him. We talked to him through video chat, and I was like, man, he's got a good story. So I'm going to have him introduce himself. Go ahead.
William Steele. My name is William Steele, and I'm very grateful to be here. I appreciate the invite on short notice. I'm just making my way through Fort Wayne. I'd like to say hello to Wesley. Shout out to Wesley for introducing us. So they call me William Steele, a true crime king. I'm a true crime author, and I have a TV show on A&E Network called Inmate to Roommate. And in its first season, it shot up very high in the ratings to basically the second most popular reality show in the country. And I'll give you the backstory, how that began.
I'm going to listen.
So Inmate to Roommate is really about people getting out of prison and getting back on their feet and the process to hold down recidivism. So I had served 18 years for nonviolent crimes, and I grew up in New York. My mother was mentally ill, and years ago, a friend of mine died in a car crash, and I tried cocaine and all that, and I ended up in some trouble with the law. But before that, I wanted to be this James Bond guy. I wanted to be the guy that could get in and out of everything and, pull anything off. But all for the greater good, all for society, for good reasons. And so I went to a school in New York City for locksmithing, alarm systems, and safes. And I became a safe cracker and a locksmith and alarm technician. So I think you could read between the lines. Years later, I started perverting those skills, and I became a very prolific jewel and art thief. Wow. And I stole millions of dollars of jewelry and artwork all across the United States, Las Vegas, California, South Florida, New York. And I'm not proud of that. I don't try to glorify my crimes. I did a lot of time in prison. While I was in prison, I escaped from prison. I ended up on America's Most Wanted website. And so I had a lot of loss because of the poor choices that I made. I was enjoying myself and making a lot of money and able to do a lot of things. But in the end, I went to prison. I started getting involved with college courses. I had some good mentors on the outside. One of my best friends was the vice president of NBC Television, Tom Madden. Tom opened a public relations firm in Florida and represents me, and he really has been encouragement to me when I was incarcerated. He's a good man. And Gary Greenberg, he was editor-in-chief of the National Enquirer, is another friend of mine. He's the co-author on my first book. So I served this time, and I was going to write a book about my life, about my activities. Now, when I was in prison, I was a law clerk, and I was involved in the offender representative committee. I was always helping people, guys that were needing to have a tutor to get their GED, trying to help people get signed up into college courses that I was taking. And, certain universities would come to the school. Thank you, Washington and Lee University. They came in, and some other ones. So I was always doing something positive, helping the chaplain's office, helping the medical department, psychiatric department, trying to help guys, prevent suicides in the prison. I wanted to continue helping people when I get out, thinking back to my mother's mental illness and how many times when I was a child I defended her from bullies and people that would pick on the mentally ill. So I was always there for my mother, and I went bad. I did a lot of bad things for a lot of years. We were trafficking cocaine and guns from Florida to New York, and so I was going to write a story, a book about my life, and how I turned it around, and I'm trying to do something positive now. Mm-hmm. I heard about this thing called the internet. I was in prison. You don't have the internet. You don't have a smartphone. You don't have social media. There's no such thing in prison. So I didn't have any experience with any of this, but I knew that I could use those platforms like I saw other people who got out of prison, turn their life around, and they're using them to help people. Sean Atwood, for example, Ciro DiPaggio, he just made the Mob King movie, which you're going to see real soon. But so I wanted to just turn my life around, help people, and I was a law clerk in prison, so I'm leaning towards helping people now who are wrongfully incarcerated. Well, I've been out about a year now after 18 years, more than 18 years straight, and for nonviolent crimes. The system is broken. They're over-sentencing people for nonviolent crimes especially, and I was one of those people caught up in that. They didn't give a, in my day, they didn't give a crap if you were struggling with an addiction. Nobody would help you. And I got basically screwed over. They want to say, well, it's because of my previous convictions, but I'm a nonviolent offender. There's no way I should have received 18 years, but they did it. They didn't give a crap that they destroyed my entire life, and my relationships with everybody in my world, and my whole family fell apart, and nobody cared. They sit on the bench and impose these sentences with no thought of the destruction that it's doing to the person's family in the process, and the loss, and the kids growing up without you. But if you say this to the certain judges and prosecutors who are very harsh on their sentencing, they would come back and say, well, you made those decisions. You made it for your family. You made it for your kids. That's a pretty arrogant position to take when somebody's struggling with an addiction. Yeah. Like I did. I struggled with a cocaine addiction. All my years, I don't blame anybody for my trouble. I made a choice to steal. I made a choice to use cocaine. I used to love cocaine. I don't drink, I don't smoke weed, but I struggled with a cocaine addiction. Even when I was trafficking cocaine, I enjoyed cocaine. Yeah. So, being as I made so much money with that and with doing jewel heists and art heists, I did whatever I wanted from coast to coast and just, did my own thing. And in my travels, I met a lot of very famous and very now infamous people. I met Robert Durst. Robert Durst, one of the wealthiest serial killer in American history. So I met him, and I had a lot of interaction with him over the years. I got so paranoid of him and the crazy things he was doing around me that I started reporting him, because I didn't know if he was going to kill me. Yeah. And he was abusing women, and he was killing people. And Robert Durst, for anybody who doesn't know, was profiled on The Jinx on HBO. There was a massive show about Robert Durst. His family controls New York City real estate. They're worth billions and billions of dollars. But because of his wealth, his massive wealth, he's gotten away with murders for decades. Wow. So Robert Durst is bad news. Anyway, so he eventually gets tried in Los Angeles for murdering a friend of ours, Susan Berman, and got convicted finally after 40 years of getting away with murders. And he died of COVID shortly after he was convicted. So my first book is about Robert Durst because I was going to make him a footnote in my personal book, but my friend said, look, this Jinx is huge. Why don't you write your Durst story first, put that out first, and so I did. And then I wrote another one. I knew Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. When I'm living in Palm Beach and Boca Raton, and I'm doing burglaries up and down the coast of Florida, in a jewelry store, I ran into Jeffrey Epstein, and he was touching a girl, what I thought was inappropriate at the time. Yeah. And I was wanted by the police at the time, so I really couldn't confront him in the store or do what I wanted to do at that time. At that time, I'm running around with cocaine. I'm running around. I had a gun with a silencer on it. I had stolen jewelry. So I was in this diamond salon on Worth Avenue in Palm Beach, and I saw whom I now know to be Jeffrey Epstein, with his hand down the pants of a young girl. And so when he left, I told my friend, hey, I'll be back, because I was there to sell some stolen jewelry.
Yeah.
And, and I had several $100,000 of jewelry with me. And I followed him to a restaurant up the street, and I confronted him. And the girl came over. I spoke to her, I spoke to him, and he weaseled his way out of it. But then became my association with him, where he would buy stolen jewelry, he would buy cocaine occasionally. But I told him, my friend's got videos in that store. And what you did is on camera. So if she's not 18, you're screwed. You're going to prison. And she lied and said she was. And I couldn't afford to call the cops, and I certainly wasn't going to kill this man in broad daylight. Not that I would have.
Yeah.
But I can't stand people that take advantage of young girls or mentally ill. If someone's taking advantage of the mentally ill, you're an enemy of mine. That's the way I look at it. So I always stand up for the underdog. And so the confrontation, he pretty much talked me down, but then he became a customer of jewelry, and I started going to the Palm Beach mansion. Through him, I met Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, we developed a little bit of a fling where, I don't know how much I can say on this type of public access TV. I saw your comedian guest use a little
I'm free.
Little profanity.
I'm
but
free.
So I had a on and off relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. And this is years ago, but they were always trying to lure these other women into the bed, but I felt, even back then, before they were exposed for what they are, I felt that the house was wired. I felt there was cameras everywhere. So I never indulged in that. I was with her, and she had other adult women, associates, assistants, that we had threesomes, we did certain things. And so that was all good. I'm a guy, who doesn't, whose fantasies not,
That's
back
true.
when I was younger. So I indulged in that, but I was always like, no, the massage girl looks too young, or the girl that's been laying out by the pool. I told Jeffrey, I said, what is your problem? Why do you have so many young women in and out of your house? It's not cool. He goes, one's a masseuse, or that one's a model, or they're doing stuff for me. And so I got to know these people. And then I wrote a book about those experiences also, once I got released from prison. So I'm going a little jumping back and forth. But anyway, so towards the end of my sentence, one book was already out. It was doing good. It was in several national publications, international. I'm in The Sun, The New York Post, National Enquirer. So the book was doing well, and I started working on my book again. And so all of a sudden, nobody's taking anything serious. Like, I turned in evidence to authorities about what they were doing in the Palm Beach mansion. Nothing ever became of that, because I escaped from there with my life. And you can read that in my book. It's called Ghislaine, Sensational and Impure. It's on Amazon or my website. Your viewers can go to williamsteeleauthor.com, and you'll find my books. The first one is Sex and the Serial Killer, My Bizarre Times with Robert Durst by William Steele. And the one about Ghislaine Maxwell is Ghislaine, Sensational and Impure, and that's on my website or Amazon. And so I wrote these books, and I name names in my book, other people that have not really been publicly mentioned that yet. And more's coming. She's been arrested and convicted and everything. But the last time I was in that mansion, I barely got out with my life.
Wow.
So I'm in prison polishing up that book, my other book. And just before my release, after 18 years, an acquaintance says, hey, A&E Network's doing a show about people getting out of prison, and they're not going to be living with family. Now, in my case, I had a falling out with family over inheritance in New York. I'm from New York City. And so I said, you know what? Living well is the best revenge. I can do well anywhere. I'm going to be doing my books, my true crime podcast. I'm a very, very ambitious person, very passionate about what I do. And I can make it anywhere, and it's just going to be problems if I look up my family. It's just a lot of heartache there, because they took, in my view, they took advantage of my mentally ill mother financially and other ways, and told my mother that I was dead while I was in prison. My relatives, my sisters told my mother that I was dead while I'm serving time, doing all the right things, staying out of trouble, helping people, and they weren't giving her my letters. And then I found out she signed everything over to them thinking I was dead, and here I am. So I come out of prison essentially, with nothing but the goodwill of some friends. And so A&E offers me a show. We want to cover people that are living with people they're not related to. when they get released, because we're trying to do some research about recidivism. So it's cast as a docuseries / reality show. And so you see from the flyer here, I don't know if you guys can zoom in on this or not.
You guys, if you can show it to them.
Yeah, so this is like a publicity thing that we made for the show. So you see it's Inmate to Roommate. It's on A&E Network, if I could hold it still. But, and that's me. That's my producer, Joe Rooser. Shout out to Joe Rooser. Joe was nominated for an Emmy Award. He's done shows like Love After Lockup and numerous other shows. But anyway, so I appeared in the show with a lady who was my pen pal when I was incarcerated. Now, she posed as a friend, and her and her husband took me in, and I didn't know she had a crush on me.
Oh, it gets deeper.
So here I am. You know, I had gotten engaged and everything before I got out. So, you know, I have my lady, and the people I was living with, Mark and Shauna, were very, very controlling, overly religious, Seventh-day Adventists. Now, I'm from New York City, and I believe in God. I am a Christian, okay? But I'm not perfect by any stretch. I make jokes, I'm sarcastic, but they were like beyond strict. Like, I didn't know she had a thing for me, and then eventually she started coming to my bedroom at night. So when her husband would go to work. So this is all on the show, but like I wasn't allowed to like eat ice. I wasn't allowed to make any jokes. My New York sarcasm was considered sinful. In this scene here, I'm driving a car for the first time, getting ready to get my license, my first license in 18 years. This is a few months ago. And so Mark's letting me use his SUV, and I'm driving, you know, kind of wild. I said, hey, I used to be a getaway driver and steal a lot of cars. Want me to show you what I'm capable of? Because driving a car is like sex. You don't forget certain things.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
So
That's true.
So I got behind the wheel of the car and took it through its paces. And this scene here is really great. I can't give away what happened during the scene. I can't give away many spoilers for the show.
I understand completely. Trust me.
Right. I have a contract with the network, and thank you, A&E, for the opportunity and for Sharp Entertainment. But so this here is a sign that says Bill's House Rules. So in episode 1, you'll see I get out of prison, we go to my bedroom, and this pink sign is on the wall, like for a girl, and the bedding is pink, and there's a unicorn light, and I look around, I'm like, I gotta be getting freaking pranked over here, you know?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I just got out 18 years. I wasn't allowed to have people over the house anyway, so nobody's gonna see it. I'm tired. All I want to do is eat, sleep, and be with a woman, my woman, you know? Certain priorities when you get out of prison, things you've missed for a long time, you know? So I wasn't trying to get into it with them, but I looked at these rules. You know, it's like no R-rated movies were allowed in the house. I wasn't allowed to use the internet.
Strict?
I was like, I've been in prison 18 years. Now I'm a writer. I need the freaking internet. I need to be able to use whatever, you know. I don't know how to use social, but I know now. I'm learning it. But all of a sudden, so the show is so popular, it exploded in the ratings. A&E is one of their most popular shows, is 60 Days In, and it surpassed them even in the ratings.
Wow.
So this is just a few weeks ago. Somebody told me the other day, hey, do you know on TikTok your show has 10.5 million views so far? It just started. And I looked, and I didn't even have to look it up. I looked it up, and I checked again 2 days later. It was 10.7 million.
Wow.
And like I have millions of fans and fan pages now, and people didn't recognize me before. Now I go down the street, they're like, "You're Bill from Inmate to Roommate." So I went from, you know, essentially unknown, you know, writing books and wanting to help people and have a true crime podcast, to like no matter where I go, I'm recognized, or somebody, you know. I'm just grateful. Like Wes, we're traveling here through Fort Wayne area, doing some filming. I can't say exactly what's going on.
I get it.
Because it's all under like NDAs and all. But I'm also filming here for my true crime podcast, and we're looking to collaborate with attorneys and anybody. You might have an actually innocent client, you need a story told. You can go to my social media is all under William Steele True Crime on YouTube. Please subscribe. My books are on Amazon, and Facebook, all the fan pages. The one that we run is called Facebook William Steele Central, and then there's numerous other ones, and of course Reddit pages and all kinds of stuff like focused on me and on the show. You know, it's surreal. I was on TMZ with Harvey Levin, and that got like 7 million views on all platforms and Fox TV. So it's been quite the ride. I make a lot of jokes on there because if I was losing my mind, like living with these people, and I'm still dealing with them to this very minute.
Yeah.
And so I can't give away much, but you guys will enjoy the show, and I'm grateful for my fans and my supporters.
Now, when is it on TV again?
It is airing on Thursday nights at 10 p.m. where you can go to the app and stream it, I guess. There's something called a streaming service. I don't know. It's all new to me. But it's there, and it's going to be on TV till like 2036.
Nice.
And then there's other seasons, spin-offs, this, that. But also, for those of you who don't have A&E TV, you can go to aetv.play.com and then click on shows, and you'll see Inmate to Roommate, and you can watch the ones that the network unlocked, for free. But it's a great experience, and it's a surreal experience that I went from like the second the show airs, after the first episode, I go out and people want to take pictures or ask for autographs, and I'm like, hey, buy my book. I'm trying to earn an honest living. Please go to Amazon, buy my books, please. The lady I was living with, I'll tell you one thing. Once she saw I wasn't interested in her, and I kind of put her out there, you have to watch the show to see what I did.
Oh, well, I'm gonna be watching. Trust me.
She took my book that she bought, threw it in the trash, and then she wrote a fake review on Amazon. Yeah,
What?
she admits on national TV she never read the book. Too much profanity in the book. I said, well, that's how I talked. I'm from New York. That's how I used to talk.
That's you.
So I told it true to what I went through at that time with Robert Durst. But it was written for the victims. Robert Durst's first wife, Kathy, was murdered by him. Her family and I are friends. I wrote this to open their eyes and the law enforcement's eyes to what he's really like and what he was all about while he was still alive. She threw it in the trash. I said, you disrespected not only me but the victims in this case, because they all appreciated that I stepped up and wrote the story. So she threw the book out. I'm trying to earn an honest living, and then she put a 1-star review, a falsified review on Amazon. So I encourage everybody, if you want to support me, if you think I'm trying to do the right thing coming out of prison, please purchase the books. We're looking for cases of actual innocence. We're looking for unsolved murders where we can have the family members on, law enforcement, prosecutors on my show, my true crime channel, and I'll give you a platform to shed light on your cases. Other celebrities, guys who have come out of prison, turn your life around, that's who I want to interview for my show.
I appreciate you coming on, man. I know it's last minute and all, but
That's
I was like,
right.
you know what? He's got a story. He's in town. Why not let the Indiana people know, and not just Indiana, but YouTube, let everybody know. Hey, this guy's got a story to tell.
We filmed 10 episodes in Elkhart so far. So Elkhart's an interesting town, RV capital of the world and all that. But I don't really have ties there or here or anywhere. My ties are in other parts of the country. But I got to know some really good people. Now, another story coming up. A guy befriends me. He turns out to be a prolific con artist, tried to rip us off, sell us a house he doesn't own. My fiance, a fake cure for leukemia. He tried to sell her that. Turns out, and then we suspect he's a serial killer. So that's one of the people I met in Indiana. One of the first people. He pretended to be a billionaire. He lives in a big mansion in Elkhart. Pretended to be my friend. Anyway, now he's facing 120 years in the feds because he conned so many people in Elkhart, and I don't know where else in Indiana. But, so I met mostly nice people except for that one guy. So everybody here has been wonderful. Thank you for your hospitality. And I am available if somebody wants to do book signings or speaking engagements, or if anybody wants to be on my own show on William Steele True Crime on YouTube. Contact me through Facebook Messenger or to any social media. I generally respond to everybody.
That's true. Again, I appreciate you coming on. Again, like I said, like you said before, publicity is ain't publicity. But again, I was in the entertainment business. Link up with anybody you can, because again, like I said, you never know when. Yeah. You're always welcome to come on my show anytime.
I appreciate it. I see you interviewed Aaron Carter, and now he passed away.
Yeah, you beat me to that.
So if I die in a car accident on the way home, this interview's the last one, right?
Don't say that.
God forbid.
But no, what happened is with interviewing Aaron Carter is rest in peace, by the way. He's one of my.
Yes.
He opened up the door for me for, again, like I said, in my interviews you heard me before. I'm always known as that wrestling person.
Right.
So I was getting me and Wes were editing, and they're like, "Oh, Aaron Carter's here. Aaron Carter's here." Like, okay, cool. I don't want to do an interview. I just go there and film the whole thing that they're doing for the concert. So everybody pointed me to Aaron Carter, and then Aaron Carter, nice guy that he is, again, what the media eats up. Again, like you said, you've seen the whole thing,
Right.
with the thing that you talked about with fiance and stuff like that. People eat up the negativity. They didn't get to know the Aaron as a person. Again, like I said, he's not my buddy. He's not like I hang out with him all the time. Just when I met him, me and Chris met him, Aaron Carter was the nicest guy.
Right.
He did the interview, and again, we were going to do another interview this year coming up, actually in July. I was talking-
Evidently, he had a struggling with a drug problem. What
Yeah.
I've noticed in my struggle with cocaine, it's usually people with a good heart that are self-medicating other pain out of their life. And in looking back at me, it had to do with my mother and the the anxiety over having a mentally ill mother that I always needed to defend and protect. And then you medicate that depression and pain out of your life. And now I recognize that for what it is. But a lot of people that struggle with addiction are just struggling to deal with pain from something they experienced somewhere else. Self-medicating. So whether it's alcohol or drugs.
And people don't understand it. They just assume, oh, they're just drug addicts. They
Right.
just criticize
Yeah.
them.
There's always more to it. There's always much more to it.
It's crazy how people like to judge no matter what you do. Again, like I said, I'm
Yep.
cheering in their shoes. And again, like I said, you did a thing with TMZ about Aaron Carter. How did that come about?
Well, my fiance, Dr. Mary Bass, she's a regular contributor on TMZ, and they asked her opinion as a contributor about, I guess, the fiance of Aaron Carter removing stuff from the house and the way people were picking on her, ridicule her. And of course, she defended her right to do that. They had a child together.
Yeah.
We don't know. Nobody knows what went on between them two during the breakup, other than a few things that might have been put out there. So, my girl is a crime victim advocate. She's a civilian fraud examiner, and she's an expert nonprofit. So she does stuff to help crime victims. She also works with people that are wrongfully incarcerated. Now we have Dr. Leslie Marlin Scholl, a doctor who got set up, put to prison for 13 years, lost his medical license. We're trying to help him get his medical license restored. So shout out to Les, Clear Dr. Scholl on Facebook. Please look him up. And freedavereinhardt.com on the internet is another client of ours. He's incarcerated in California, innocent. His family stole millions of dollars. And so shout out also to Seven Sons Farms, friends of ours here in Fort Wayne. They have a big natural farm. So hello to everybody, Brock and Lee and Beth from Seven Sons.
Sweet. Again, like I said, this has been a Dos Landis with William Steele. Anything to say before we go?
I just have to say, be true to yourself. Be yourself at all times. Tell the people around you who you love that you love them. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. Life is but a vapor. Your life can end. Just appreciate every second of life you're given and those around you. And I wish everybody the best. Thank you for your support.
Thank you for watching Dos Landis. My guest, William Steele. Appreciate it. Stay tuned for more. Now, before we go, remember, next week we'll be doing the top 10 celebrities on the Dos Landis. Then the Celebrity Edition, which would be 2 parts, which would be the professional wrestlers. Again, link to professional wrestling again. And then the ones with, Wheatus, all the Mosey, just people that's non-wrestling, like musicians. And so again, then the Celebrity Edition, and then after that, the top 15 professional wrestlers. So stay tuned for more. Again, by the way, have a good Thanksgiving, and see you guys later. I'm out like a knockout.
Happy holidays. God bless.
Thank you.
All right.
That was easy.